Well, hello and welcome to I Love Gay today. And we are in San Francisco today, and we're here with Jenni Olson. How are you, Jenni?
Hey Matt, I'm pretty good. Actually, we're in Berkeley today. I moved to
Berkeley.
I moved to Berkeley 2 summers ago.
You're east on the East Bay now.
Yes,
I
yes.
love it. But no, I'm so happy to connect with you here. You and I, our lives have intertwined for like 26 plus years now, since the beginning when we had started in the world of .com. But you've been doing this even before all that.
Yeah, I guess I've been around a little while.
But no, when we first met, knew each other, we were actually on different sides of the aisle, so to speak. We were gaywire.com, and you were with PlanetOut, which at the time but this was kind of before gay.com came on the scene, so there were just two companies, and then you headed up the whole PopcornQ, which just it like tackled everything, all things LGBT film.
Yeah. Uh, I know it's so sad that it doesn't exist anymore. I every once in a while I go onto the Wayback Machine to go look at the old the old site, but
And it's all there.
yeah, I mean parts of it, it's
Yeah.
because it was database driven, you can't see all the way down, but yeah. Yeah, it was an amazing thing. Uh and particularly, yeah, I was in charge of all the film stuff, and we, built out the database that was, was like, oh, the gay IMDb,
Yes.
and all the professional resources and the directory of LGBT film festivals and LGBT distributors and
Yep.
you know, trying to trying to help the filmmakers. Yeah.
Well, I remember it was a real powerhouse at the time, and in fact, you guys, being part of the PlanetOut media site, you guys really fleshed out a lot of work that filmmakers were doing at that time as well.
Um, yeah, I mean, Planet Out as a whole was amazing, and it's
Yeah.
one of the mm, proudest, things in my career.
Yeah.
We were a very small team building that out and uh, serving the community, and um,
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, the film stuff. I one of my other proudest Planet Out things that we did in 1997 was the founding the Queer Brunch at
Yeah.
Sundance,
Yeah.
which was like maybe 50 people at that time, and now is still going strong. Well, it's even stronger, and there's like 500 people, like,
Yeah. Wow.
um, and like you can't get in the door. Um,
I remember I went once. I went one year. And but no, that's the whole thing, is that you've been at the center of LGBT film. I mean, before Planet Out, you were co-director of Frameline, the LGBT film festival in San Francisco. And the history you bring to the table has just always been in kind of bringing all of this together as kind of a connector in the world of LGBT film.
I thank you for saying that, and the connector thing I think is whatever. There's so many. I'm very proud, very,
Yeah.
very, I mean, I'm grateful to, I'm so grateful to have gotten to do this as a career. And I've worked in kind of every realm of LGBT film.
Mhm.
My background is as a programmer. I started a gay film series and festival in Minneapolis in
Okay.
the late 80s.
Yeah.
Um, and then was a film critic, wrote for the gay paper there, and have continued as a film critic, as
Yeah.
a film historian, as a film archivist, um, and kind of along the way, been, it's and then working for Wolfe in film distribution, and that it's all about helping filmmakers um, and yeah, connecting people
Yeah.
to like
Yeah.
make queer film culture be moving forward. And then, of course, I am also a filmmaker.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, and yeah, I mean, it's my community. It's I feel very blessed.
Yeah. But you're still doing well, you're like the work as a film film archivist, historian, like that can go on forever, it seems, but you're also still doing a lot of writing and bringing things forward for publications and websites as well.
Yes, it's hard to keep track. I have been, and I've been very busy in the lockdown. And let's see, as you say that, I'm like trying to think of everything. But well, I don't know, I'll just say, I mean, one thing that happened last year was the Harvard Film Archive acquired my collection of LGBTQ film prints, actual 16 millimeter, 35 millimeter materials that I've collected over the decades. Stuff like my movie trailer collection, these original 35 millimeter trailers. I don't know if you remember, Homo Promo was my vintage gay movie trailer collection with like The Killing of Sister George and Boys in the Band, and like on those original 35 kind of scratchy. Uh, uh, I love that, and it's available actually on canopy.com now. And anyway, so yes, Harvard acquired all of that stuff. Boxes and boxes and boxes of materials. And what was my other various big news of of the last year? Well, I just recently was honored with the Teddy Award from the Berlin Film Festival, which is the kind of gay award at Berlin. And that was amazing to be, recognized in that way.
Nice.
And anyway, yeah, I mean, this kind of non-film related thing, but more kind of back to my roots in the .com world, is I've been working for GLAAD over this past year.
Okay.
And we just launched recently this project that I was working on called the Social Media Safety Index, and looking at basically kind of platform accountability in relation to hate and harassment on social media platforms, and AI bias, algorithms, data privacy, basically all of the ways that the social media platforms are failing us, with a kind of LGBT lens. And that's been amazing to do that work and kind of reconnecting with my, my roots, my PlanetOut. Yeah.
Because I've read about that. I've seen some of the stories that GLAAD was putting out about that. I didn't realize you were part of that.
Yeah, I was kind of, working in the background. And I mean, social media is a scary place.
Well, I always figure it's an extension of who we are as people. So I always look at it, it's the good side of us and sometimes the less good side of us.
Yes. And that's interesting that you say that. I feel like I'm philosophizing and strategizing around, what are the ways that we can, that we can make things better. I mean, most of all, the platforms need to be held accountable and need to, have, safe products. But yeah, I am interested in, how we engage. And
I always go on record as being an outlier in the sense that I always feel Twitter is probably the strongest of all the social media platforms out there. And I think it's got like the smartest AI to try to figure out of millions of tweets, what we would actually want to see and maybe not. But what's interesting is today it proved out for me yet again, because in Tbilisi they had Pride today, and things went bad. It was everything went south, a lot of violence, and everything was recorded and broadcast out there, and then of course shared. But it's interesting because I caught all that, and it's still not on. I have not caught that on anything mainstream yet. And yet here you are on Twitter and you're seeing everything unfold live, but you're only seeing it because other people we're connected to are sharing it. And then the people they're connected to are liking it. And that sort of crowdsourcing and that AI that starts to figure out what's relevant means that I was able to kind of watch the entire thing unfold in real time. And I think that's something that was unheard of just even a few years ago.
Mm-hmm. There are really amazing positive things. And we want to hang on to those things, or
Yep.
and maintain those things while also finding ways to address the particularly the hate and harassment, which
we're in that period of transition now where I think there's a lot of learning going on. So at some point we're going to look back and go, yeah, it was a no-brainer. What took us so long to figure these things out that you're dealing with?
Well, I will say, this is my I mean, I agree personally that I do find Twitter to be a better platform. And in general, profits, we know that profits are driven by particularly by polarizing algorithms that and that hate actually drives engagement, and the platforms actually have tools and ways of mitigating these things, and which they have at times employed. So we know that they have them and that they can work.
Yeah.
But of course, what they have found repeatedly is that using those tools and making platforms safer ends up reducing engagement and reducing profits. And that is over and over shown in a million different research examples to be the case. That then they're like, yeah, no, we're not going to do that anymore. We're turning the dials again, and like, here's the polarization, here's the hate harassment, here's the algorithms that, like, oh, you clicked on one hateful, horrible transphobic YouTube video, like, let me give you some more. And like, next thing you know, you're just buried in this horrible stuff. Anyway, and so the responsibility of the platforms to use their algorithms in ways that prioritize public safety over their profits. I'm sorry, I can
That's what I was saying. It's going to be an interesting transition to see when we finally as things continue to progress, and hopefully, as they say, hashtag it gets better.
Yeah, well, hashtag it gets regulated.
It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Are there any exciting things you're working on coming up here in the future?
Gosh, well, continuing to work on the social media safety index program at GLAAD, which is, exciting and so important and so needed. And personally, still I'm in development on a new film, a film called The Quiet World, Quiet World Movie at Quiet World Movie on Twitter.
Yes.
And that's going to be it will take me a while because I'm doing so many things, but it's like my other films, The Royal Road and The Joy of Life, 16 millimeter urban landscape essay film. Very queer, very contemplative, and shot on 16 millimeter film. And so I'm kind of plugging away very slowly on that. And,
I love it. Well, it's going to be nice when I'm starting to go back to film festivals again. So it's going to be great when we're able to reconnect here in the real world, probably within the next year or so. So it's been quite a while.
I'm looking forward to that. I mean, I feel like I'm cautiously, we have a little more time until, next summer, Frameline and Outfest, hopefully. And the last thing I would will say in terms of stuff that I'm working on is I'm also still working on the Bresson project, restoring and re-releasing the films of Arthur J. Bresson Jr., um, who was such an important gay filmmaker in the 70s and 80s. He made a film called Buddies that was the first feature film about AIDS, and we did that restoration and re-release, and the last thing that we restored was his two films from the 70s, Passing Strangers and Forbidden Letters. And those are on Pink Label TV now, and hopefully, as things open up, we'll get to do some more physical screenings of those. They're beautiful new 2K restorations, and
wow, excellent. There's some good stuff.
Yeah, so excited to get to watch movies in movie
exactly
theater.
Exactly. Well, it's wonderful to be able to, like I said, see you again, and I'm just glad you're able to take a few moments and share a bit of your story here with our audience.
Thank you, and thanks for ILoveGay everything. I follow 10 of them on Twitter, and it's it's been great to see you and Pink everything.
Well, thank
evolve,
you.
And
we're still plugging along.
It's come a long way since Gay Wired and those olden days. Someone needs to write a history of all that stuff.
I know. Well, the best one is with Franco and around the thing with Curve that they had just put out.
Ahead of the Curve.
Ahead of the Curve, yes.
Right? Yeah, Ahead of the Curve, which is out now.
I just watched it.
Doing it, but they did some theatrical release, and I'm on the Curve Foundation advisory board.
Okay.
Franco is an old friend, and
Well, at least that movie, it's getting there. So I think there's going to be more to come on stories such as that.
Yes. Yeah.
But thanks again, and wonderful to see you here.
Good to see you, Matt. Thank you.
Take care now.
So good.